Desperate times call for desperate measures. It was time for change, and Matt Rule stepped up and brought it to us. I see these overreactions on Twitter, people tweaking out over nothing. The Toledo DC ends up, quote unquote, picking Syracuse over Nebraska. People start losing their mind, talking about if we end up with Phil Snow, I'm going to lose my mind. Now, to be fair, I would too. But I promise you on my freaking life, all things being equal in their offers, Syracuse versus Nebraska, Karras did not pick Syracuse over Nebraska without there being a caveat that he did not agree with that Rule said was going to be enacted. And that was probably, I'm going to keep my staff that I want. You can bring maybe a guy over, but it's not going to be a safeties coach because we want to keep Addison Williams. He probably told him, there's a type of scheme we want to run. There's an identity that we want to keep. And if he doesn't have full control, maybe he's not looking at Nebraska as a serious opportunity for him. So then he bounces down a level to the ACC. He bounces down from an average Big Ten team who finished with 7 wins this season to an ACC team, Syracuse, one of the worst in the entire conference, won 3 games this year. Don't talk to me about Nebraska lost to Syracuse in a coaching battle. People are so delusional. I mean, Syracuse fans, I totally understand it. They have this inflated thing going on where they think they have a fantastic coach and they're building and whatever. They can say what they want on Twitter. But for a Nebraska fan to say it just blows my freaking mind. Okay, that's how it started this afternoon when I'm turning on the Alabama-Georgia game. So I post up, obviously, Rule turning down Karras means he's going bigger. I fully believe that. Matt Rule is looking for a splash hire. He's not looking to do the exact same thing that has not worked. Okay, fast forward. Following that, Matt Rule makes another splash. A splash that was expected. A splash that we prayed for. A splash that could potentially lead to Nebraska having a new quarterback in 2026. I said potentially not going to. He fires his offensive line coach, an offensive line coach who was hired by the previous head coach, an offensive line coach who, although Nebraska was able to have significant rushing advantages this year in some of their games and allow Emmett Johnson to be one of the best backs in the entire country, wasn't able to develop an offensive line who could pass protect all that well, wasn't able to create an offensive line that was super nasty compared to some of the other Big Ten teams Nebraska played against, and ultimately was one of the reasons that it felt like Nebraska's offense sputtered at times throughout the season. I'm not saying he was terrible. I'm not saying the offensive line was a complete shit show, but there were moments that were disgusting, disgraceful, and led to Nebraska fans saying, this guy's got to go. Like when Nebraska gave up 9 sacks to Minnesota. Okay, he fires the offensive line coach. There are going to be repercussions. We don't know what they are yet. Who knows? Maybe Nebraska doesn't get as good of an offensive line coach. That's the initial thought, right? No. Matt Rule fires right back. He planned it. This all was premeditated. He wanted to make sure that if I fire somebody, I've got somebody lined up so fans don't lose their freaking minds. That's what he did. He went and got Geep Wade from Georgia Tech, a Georgia Tech team who was in the playoff conversation all the way up until the end. A Georgia Tech team who has led their conference in sacks given up the last 2 years, least amount of sacks given up, obviously. A Georgia Tech team who knows how to run the ball. Their total offense ranked this season 12th nationally, among the best. Oregon, Vanderbilt, USC in the same conversation. A rushing offense who ranked, what was that? 19th nationally, right behind Michigan and Notre Dame. Sacks allowed, 5th nationally, with 9 total. What did I say before? Nebraska gave up 9 sacks to Minnesota alone. Okay, talk about a splash hire. Talk about a guy who can come in and give you confidence right away that he'll be able to remake and rebuild an offensive line that's been choppy at best. A guy who clearly has loyalty, since as soon as it got announced that he was leaving for Nebraska, one of the Georgia Tech offensive linemen jumps into the portal. He was a backup, but the point is, the moment it happened, this dude jumped in. I have to assume that has to do with some loyalty. Not saying Nebraska's going to target him or that they want him, any of that. I'm just saying he's got some loyalty from his players. It's going to be interesting to see what Nebraska's plan is next season. There are obviously a lot of things to work out. You don't know who your running backs are going to be. You don't know who all your offensive line pieces are going to be. You don't know what the offense is going to look like entirely, if they're happy with the system that they ran or if they want to adjust some things and allow Dana Holgorsen to take control fully. You don't know who your quarterback is going to be, especially with today's news. I don't think that I still believe fully that Dylan Raiola is going to be back. Like if I had to bet on it, I'd say 65% chance, 70% chance he's coming back. There's obviously a world where he doesn't, in which case Nebraska's going to go and spend to get a guy like, I don't know, Sam Levitt from Arizona State, who's obviously flirting with other teams in the portal. There's a lot to be seen that we don't know about yet. But the fact that Matt Rule has jumped, he's committed to going out and getting coaches who will better this program, who aren't going to hold Nebraska back like we've seen some of the other coaches do so far. And you could say, well, it's Matt Rule. Ultimately, it's his fault. Whatever. I don't care. The point is, you're only as good as your assistants. And right now, the assistants haven't been good enough. We've already seen 2 fires, 1 hire, and I'm confident that he's going to go and find the right DC to help get shit right. Another thing to note, Georgia Tech, Joe Moore Award semifinalists this year. They're one of the top 10 offensive lines in the country, up there with A&M, Vanderbilt, Utah, Oregon, Michigan, Iowa, IU, Duke, and Cincy. He went and got a really good offensive line coach. I'm excited. The negativity is not tolerated by me, as you guys know. I'll respond to questions and comments in the chat, no problem. But I see a bunch of stuff on Twitter and people losing their minds. And I think what you've got to do right now is chill. Just chill and hang out. Let's see what happens over the next month and a half. We have no idea what this team's going to look like. We don't know what Rule's grand plan is. We're watching it happen and get pieced together. And then that can obviously lead to some overreactions. And, well, this part wasn't that big of a deal. Why didn't he make a change here instead of that? Don't worry about any of that. He has a master plan in his head. He hasn't told us what he's going to do, but he's going to do it strategically. So I'm optimistic. I'm excited. Nebraska obviously still has one game left. They're playing in the Las Vegas Bowl against Utah. It's going to be a freaking tough game. Utah obviously is going to lose some guys to the NFL. They have a bunch of NFL players. They probably have 3 or 4 guys who are going to go pro, is my guess. Nebraska, I think, will be a 2-touchdown underdog at the very least in this game. It's going to be, a bloodbath if you look at Nebraska right now versus what Utah is. But you never know. Bowl season's crazy. You don't know what their opt-outs look like. You don't know how motivated Nebraska's going to be, who's going to play. The fact that Nebraska's going to a big bowl game, this is a big bowl game, by the way. That's a 10-win Utah team they're going to play against. A borderline playoff team. Important to note. It's exciting. I'm pumped up. Las Vegas is a great location. That stadium's freaking awesome. I'll be there. I know there'll be a ton of Nebraska fans. So let's just get through the bowl game. See what happens in the transfer portal. Nebraska's obviously going to spend heavy. You see all these bullshit things on Instagram and Twitter. Nebraska has one of the lowest ranked high school recruiting classes in the country. No one gives a shit. Did you watch Texas Tech today? Did you watch Texas Tech curb stomp BYU for the second time this season? A BYU team who's 11-1. Talented BYU team, physical BYU team, and Texas throated them. Texas Tech throated them. Do you know how they did that? Because they abused the portal last year. They fisted the portal. I'm sorry. Let me use a proper term. They went in and they took anybody and everybody. And Texas Tech is now one of the best 5 teams in America currently. They could get blown out in round 1, or round 2, I guess they're in. Right now, Texas Tech looks really freaking good because they went to the portal. They went hard with a former Matt Rule coach, by the way, 2 of them. Garrett McGuire's the running back coach on that team, I think. Okay. Nebraska has a plan. Matt Rule knows what's working right now in college football. We asked for it. We're getting it. I'm not saying you guys are saying any of this. I'm just saying, you hear a lot of outside noise from casual college football fans who have no idea what the hell's going on in Lincoln. I'm excited. Is it all going to work out? I can't guarantee it. Would I predict it works out? I'm not even going to make a prediction yet because it's way too early. Can it? Is there a possibility and is there reason to have hope? Abso-freaking-lutely. Curt Cignetti went to Indiana and he brought in 25 new additions back-to-back years from the portal. How's it working out for Cincinnati? It's failed at other places, I know. But there are a lot of schools thriving off the transfer portal. Why can't it be Nebraska? Why can't Matt Rule do this? Why can't Matt Rule be more like that guy? Well, guess what? He stepped up to the plate with his freaking bat, and he is swinging, baby. Okay, I'm pumped up. I'm sorry. I see all of this shit and this negativity online, and I'm like, what more do you want? Maybe the issue is everyone has their own opinion on how these things should go. So they all tweak out. One guy gets extreme here. One guy gets extreme here. They have total opposite opinions on how Matt Rule should build it. He needs to do better here. He needs to do better. Screw it. He's doing what he thinks is right. He's going to live and die by the sword. It's make or break time. It's year 4. Figure it the fuck out or get out. That's how we all feel. Am I wrong in saying that? I don't think so. I think we are all on the same page. He's at the plate. We're going to see what he does. Guys, thank you for being here. It's an exciting day for me. I get to go on and look at, obviously all these games in the Big 12 Championship, ACC, Big 10, and SEC Championship. And then I get to go on Twitter and see all this change at Nebraska, which I've been waiting for and waiting to make a video about. So perfect timing. Tomorrow, I got invited to go to the Lot Impact Trophy. What is it? It's a dinner. It's the awards presentation. It's in Newport Beach. So I'll be there. I'm actually trying to, in the future, figure a situation out with them where I can work with them. But I got invited to go to this, so I'm going here tomorrow. So I'm glad that all this news happened today so I can hop on now while I'm at home to make a video. The other thing that was really positive is I got to see Nebraska announced in the Las Vegas Bowl. Like I've told you, I'm already going to be in Las Vegas. It works out so perfect that I go from Christmas at my dad's to New Year's at the Raiders Stadium to watch Nebraska play against Utah. Am I optimistic that they could win? Probably not. Do I care? Not really. This season's what it was. I just enjoy watching Nebraska play. I really enjoy hanging out with Nebraska fans. It doesn't get better. It's a good day. That's all I'm saying. Good day. Hope you guys are having a good day too. Jim, thank you for being here. Thank you for the 777. He says, end of the Raiola connection. Seems so, but hopefully Dylan has a mind of his own. Stay healthy. I think he does. And after Dylan got abused multiple times throughout the season, it might be refreshing for him to see, we're going to have something different. Sad my uncle got fired. Sad it didn't work out. However, I want to be at Nebraska. They're making a commitment to protect me. They're making a commitment to show up because I did. Dylan said, I'm not going to Georgia. I'm not going to USC or Ohio State. I'm coming to Nebraska. Match my energy. So Matt Rule's matching the energy. He's saying, we're done. We're going to make sure that we give you the best of the best. So he went out and got the best. I love it. I hope that's how Dylan views it. I don't know. There's a huge family dynamic with the Raiolas. They're obviously tight-knit, and they could feel some type of way. I'm going to guess Matt Rule isn't calling Donovan's brother, Dominic, or Dylan saying, hey, I'm about to fire your uncle. Just heads up. I'm sure it just happened, and they're probably like, damn, cold-blooded. But they're not surprised. Me and 200 other people who talk about Nebraska football, I'm assuming, I don't watch all them, but I'm guessing they were all banging on Rule's door saying, fire this dude, make a change. We all want it. No disrespect. If firing Donovan loses you your quarterback, honestly, it is what it is. There are going to be other quarterbacks. I want Dylan back, by the way, but it is what it is if it costs you your quarterback. There are going to be so many guys in the portal, and Nebraska is so committed to spending money right now. I'm not worried. There is time to panic, but the time isn't now. There's time to panic if they fail. Okay. Saray and Taylor, thank you for the $2 super chat. Excited for the change, hoping we compete next year. Be optimistic, brother. Think about it. Every single season is independent of the last. Indiana went from non-contender to immediate contender. Texas Tech did the exact same thing. It can flip overnight with the right roster, with the right coaching, and the right changes in the offseason. Nebraska didn't get it right the last couple of years. They've made incremental improvement. It's been awesome to see. You love to see positivity, right? Like, okay, the graph is no longer plateauing. It's slightly increasing each year, right? Like it's a slight tilt up. We want to see it like this. We want to see it skyrocket if we're being honest. But right now, I'm just expecting this. Get us over the freaking hump. I know next year is going to be challenging. I know the teams they play are going to be really freaking good. But can you win some of those key transfer portal recruiting battles? Can you finish up and get the right staff in place so Nebraska is more physical, tougher, looks like a Big Ten team, plays and fights like they're supposed to be, competitive in these games that they've been losing so bad over this last, couple of years. They are close. Mentally, they're close. But they need to get it right physically, which means you got to get the right players. I'm hopeful that they do. I'm not going to panic until there's reason to. Right now, sunshine and freaking roses, because you've got a coach who's willing to make the hard decisions. And in the past, it's felt like some of these guys who were in charge weren't. Rod, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a member. And thank you for the $20 super chat. I appreciate you. See you in Vegas, brother, GBR. I think we're going to see a lot of Nebraska fans in Vegas, Rod. It's going to be an awesome experience. If you guys haven't been to the Raiders Stadium, this is the perfect time to go. I know it might not be the best game, right? I know that you might not like watching Nebraska lose, but you're going to watch a lot of young guys get some time. You're going to get a little preview of what TJ Lateef can do after an entire, month month of that, what's it been? A month and a half, going to be 2 months at that point, working as QB1. Who knows? He's going to be playing against some backup guys at Utah too who are going to opt out. If you're around the neighborhood, pop in. I'm sure the tickets will be cheap. Jose says, how many young Nebraska offensive linemen hit the portal? I don't know. Could be 2, could be 4. To be honest with you, I don't care. Anybody who wants to leave, peace. There's more. Nebraska is going to spend. And here's the other thing. There will be guys who hit the portal because they don't feel like they're valued. There will be guys who hit the portal because they don't feel like they're getting the proper opportunity. But the guys who want to fight, the guys who think they're the best of the best and want to come play for the best, why would you leave? You have a star quarterback as of right now. You're going to have good running backs behind you. I can promise you that Nebraska will go and get some good running backs. Luke Lindenmeyer's back next year, who's an honorable mention, all Big Ten selection. Shout out Luke. From the gutter, walk on to an NFL prospect tight end. Anyway, the offense is going to have some pieces. And Isaiah Hunter, I promise you, he's getting paid. They are not letting him go. There's a world where he could, I guess, but he's getting paid. There's a reason to come back if you believe in yourself and you believe you're a starting offensive lineman in Nebraska. They're going to be improved. How much? I don't know, but I believe in improvement. This is a coach who's going to help them with run blocking, pass blocking. There's going to be a significant change from what we saw under Raiola. We didn't see much under Raiola. It felt very stagnant. I think you're going to see a jump. You're going to see at least some different techniques. You're going to see something going on that Raiola didn't implement. And why would you leave if you're one of the best? So optimistic. David, this sounds like delusion. I don't know why this would make any sense, David, to even say. From what I hear, Troy Dannon is in contact with Matt Patricia. I'm going to say you're trolling, that you don't hear that anywhere. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Why would Matt Patricia leave Ohio State for Nebraska? Ridiculous. Josh says, I think you're all too down bad from the Riley and Frost eras. What's happening here is good. Exactly. We want wholesale change. We want difference makers in the room, guys who come in and bring new energy. What was the biggest bright spot you saw at Nebraska this season? Hold up. I'll just tell you what it was in case. It was Mike Eckler coming in, improving the special teams, making them quicker. They were more physical. They had a meaner spirit, just more energy in the room, period, right? Because of all of that, the special teams unit improved tenfold. They had kickoff returns for touchdowns. They had more punt return yards than we've seen. The punter was the best we've seen in a while. They were just a nastier unit overall. And to win in the Big Ten, that's what you need. Nebraska went and made a change. They were rewarded for it. We want more change. Reward us. We're getting it. The biggest issues that we felt this year were the defense and the offensive line. 2 of the biggest issues. Raiola had some issues as well. I'm excited. There's no reason you shouldn't be. I'm scarred. I promise you, I'm scarred just as much as you are. My body's all, I got scars everywhere. Scott Frost really ruined me. Mike Riley really, really did a number. But there's reason to have hope. John says our signing class this past week was meager/measly. Yes. Yeah. Who cares? I don't care about that class. This was not a year to go and recruit in high school. Flush it. Thank you. Millard South guys, peace. Iowa State's going to appreciate you. Kansas State, whoever the hell wants you, go play in the Big 12. This is a time to get some big boys, some guys who are going to get paid money because they've already proven it. Not guys who we need to pull from high school, develop over time. This is a win or get the hell out situation. Matt Rule does not want to be a hot seat coach. So if you don't want to be a hot seat coach, make the changes to win today. He's doing it. High school recruits. Wait for 2027. Hi, Mountain Guy. Admittedly, I don't know much about Georgia Tech, but with how shit Uncle Donnie has done, how can anyone not be pumped about this hire? Let's go. Honestly, I haven't seen anyone negative about it so far. However, I haven't been on Twitter since it was announced. I jumped on here and started setting up my stream. People were really negative about the DC stuff, which I get at first sight. People were so amped up like this Toledo DC was the one. Like, oh, Nebraska flew him in and interviewed him. They've got to get him. Something wasn't right there. Something wasn't aligned. Matt Rule didn't like the matchup. He didn't promise him the job right out the gate, and he said, I'm still flirting with other ideas. There was something that wasn't perfect. Otherwise, that DC was obviously coming to Nebraska over freaking Syracuse. So let's just wait and see what happens with the DC. But the offensive line coach, freaking home run. Ballsaw says, you seem to like to tout the high classes under Frost. Not seem to like to tout them. I did tout them. The high classes under Frost were great. They were getting good players. Wan'Dale Robinson is a solid NFL receiver, and he was recruited by Scott Frost. I mean, there were good players who came in under Frost. I don't know what that has to do with anything. I would still tout the high classes under Matt Rule. I did last year whenever he got good guys in who I thought could play right away. I touted them. So, yeah, Scott Frost not being a great coach had nothing to do with him recruiting good talent who did end up panning out, even if it wasn't at Nebraska. Go Johnny says, hats off to Emmett, first team in both. I really enjoyed watching him. I think he'll be even better. He did all this behind a sorry offensive line. When he gets good blocking, all that shiftiness. Yeah, so that's the funny thing. People talked about, oh, why did Donnie have to go? The offensive line did a great job blocking for a first team all Big Ten running back. Okay, did they? Or was Emmett just so shifty that he made something out of nothing half the time? Felt like half the time he got the ball, he was dead to rights because he didn't have somebody blocking for him. And he found a way to make it happen. He got to the second level. Then it turned into the third, and Nebraska's got a 9-yard gain. That's how he ended up with 1,500 rushing yards or whatever it was. I didn't credit the offensive line to Emmett's success. I credited Emmett to Emmett's success. The offensive line gets a little credit, but Emmett was the freaking man this year. He, exceptional. 84 Cal says, donors need to show up this month. We need 20 plus million to be competitive in the portal. That's the question. How much do they have to spend, and how competitive will they be when you've got Texas Tech, Oregon, USC, Michigan, all trying to take the same players? That's been Nebraska's biggest issue. They are not getting the right players. They have to get the guys who won't or who haven't been willing to come to Nebraska in the past. Will they be able to get one or two of those? Maybe 3 or 4. They got to get some. Dylan Raiola was one, and Isaiah Hunter's one. How many of those guys can you get? They've got to stack them up, defense and offense, especially on the line. The line's going to be the biggest issue. The reason Texas Tech was able to abuse the portal the way they were is because they overpaid for a bunch of guys. Now, was it worth it? Go watch today's game and let me know if it was worth it. They're going to be the 4 seed in the freaking college football playoff. To me, it was worth it. They had 2 running backs on their roster who could have started at multiple Power 4 schools. One of them tore his ACL before the season even started, and they paid him to leave USC. Nebraska's got to be doing shit like that. No, oh, well, we're going to go and get, i.e. Dylan Edwards, out of the portal from Kansas State, and then we're going to go and flirt with the idea of a guy who was like the 3rd string running back at Wisconsin, but like hopefully we can turn him in. Brother. Go and get a Dante Dowdell caliber backup. Like, he's sitting on the bench half the time at Kentucky. Go pull him from Kentucky and pair him with a Dylan Edwards. Someone who's proven something already, rushed for 500 yards. You know what I'm saying? Nebraska's got to be doing shit like that, making real moves in the portal. It's going to cost money, but you got to do what you got to do. Cooper says you don't have Texas Tech money to spend in the portal. That's true, 100%. Nebraska's not going to make the Texas Tech impact. I agree with that. But can they get close? Can they get some guys? You don't need as many as Texas Tech got. Nebraska's expectation isn't to go and win a national championship. Texas Tech's expectation, when they spent the kind of money they did, was to win the Natty. Nebraska's expectation is to win 9 games. To get to 9 wins next year, you do not need to have the exact same roster as Texas Tech. You need some guys, but you don't need to have as much depth as they do, and you don't need to have as many crazy top-end athletes. They just need... They were close this year. They could have won 8 games this year if Dylan would have stayed healthy, potentially 9 with him, right? So they're close already. Let me see. Go Johnny says, I love Rule even before today. I think his recruiting's good and is getting better. His positive attitude's refreshing. It's not Rule's fault the players aren't blocking, catching penalties. He's taking shots on guys, and it's just bad luck they're not panning out. That's the bottom line. You don't know who the right guys are until you get them in the room. And Elijah Pritchett, for example, they brought Elijah in. They believed in him. Early on, it felt like he might not pan out. He's sitting on the bench. Raiola had him on the bench. Then Rule says, no, we've got to play him. They play him. He ends up working out. He develops. He's going to be a stud next year, you would hope. He's going to be a starting left tackle at Nebraska as long as he stays, which I'm sure he will. And yeah, they took a shot. You just don't know who's going to pan out until you get them there. And you don't know. You got to get the right coaches in to manage these guys, to build them up, to develop them. Hopefully they got the right coaches in, right? But it's a never know. So as much as you can fault Rule for some of his decision-making, a lot of this has to do with taking shots and hoping guys work. They took a shot on Arik Gilbert. That was a mental head case, right? That didn't work out because he's mentally fucked. But yeah, he's doing his best in recruiting. He's improving. So Nathan says, do you think that if Dylan leaves that we will go after a transfer? I think Latif is still a year away from being good. I kind of think we should go after QB. It's not even... Matt Rule is coaching for his job right now. Like, let's just all be real with ourselves. If Matt Rule finishes next year, I don't care how tough the schedule is. By the way, they play Indiana, who's going to be a top 15 team is my guess, top 20. They're going to lose a lot of guys in Indiana. There's a possibility they get back into the top 10. I'm thinking Indiana's like an 8-9 win team next year. Okay, I don't know their schedule yet. Let's say 9. They play Oregon and they play Ohio State. Ohio State's at home. Ohio State's a behemoth. I know. They've played great against Ohio State in the past. Anything can happen if you have the right team and the right staff in place. Nebraska should be competing and in the game with Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon, especially in year 4 under Matt Rule, depending who their quarterback is, depending on their injury and health situation, depending on who they're able to pull from the portal this year. All of that is going to be a factor. But in theory, Nebraska should be competing at the highest level, especially when they're playing these teams at home. Okay? You are not going to rely next year on TJ, no disrespect, on TJ Lateef, who proved nothing this year. If TJ would have been electric this season and looked like a power 4 starting quarterback, or at least could have been developed into one immediately, long term he could. If he would have looked that way, you could argue, well, Nebraska's got their quarterback and they're ready to rock. That's not what's happened. TJ's been slightly underwhelming. Now, is it all TJ's fault? Probably not. But TJ didn't do enough to help himself. And for that reason alone, for missing passes downfield, for not being the guy who could win games that potentially you should be able to win, he's not going to be Nebraska's starting quarterback next year. Unless by some miracle he develops, gets bigger, he looks great in spring ball, and then Dana has to start him. But he's not going to be Nebraska's starting quarterback next year. If Dylan was to leave, Dylan's going to be the starting quarterback. But if Dylan was to leave, and there's a world where he does, I'm not going to sit here surprised if he hits the transfer portal, okay? If he does, I'm 100% certain Nebraska is targeting a quarterback like a Sam Leavitt. They're going big. To win at this level, to beat the Ohio States, the Indianas, or at least compete with them, you need a big-time QB. We've learned that. Who are they going to get? I don't know. There are going to be a lot of options. But they're going to get someone who's proven, someone who's already won games, and someone who Matt Rule can trust is going to be able to lead his team. Right now, that's Dylan Raiola. If it's not Raiola, who's it going to be? Check the portal in 2 weeks and we'll find out. We'll know what the options are. Colby says, I feel like Dom's got to be pissed that Donnie let Dylan get hit that much. Like, wouldn't it seem somewhat backwards in the football world to see Dylan leave because of that? So in my opinion, it would. You would think Dylan and his dad would say, man, I took too many sacks. Was it my fault? Was it partially my fault? Was it my uncle's fault? How do you evaluate that? Even if you were to say it's 50-50 me, 50-50 my offensive line, we need to correct at least half of that for me to be successful at Nebraska next year. I would think they would respect the decision to move on and get someone better. When the best interest is protecting your quarterback, you would think they have the logical side of their brain turned on and they say, okay, I get it. Now it makes sense why they went and got Geep Wade, right? But the family dynamic, the emotional past and the swings, you don't know. They could be, oh my God, this is crazy. You should have consulted us. We should have worked this. You don't know. I don't know. We'll have to find out. I will say this. Again, no disrespect. I like to say no disrespect a lot because you never know who's watching. No disrespect. I don't know that Dylan's even the best fit for Nebraska's offense. And that's not a Dylan issue. It's a Nebraska issue. Dylan at Oregon, at USC, at Ohio State, Georgia, or a school that has more weapons, a better offensive line, and allows him to be the distributor that he is meant to be, would probably be better fit for him. At Nebraska, the fear is he needs to be the playmaker, and he's not a playmaker. Dylan is a distributor. To be a distributor, you have to have a solid offensive line protecting you long enough to get the ball out to the guys who can make plays. To be a solid distributor, you have to have the weapons on the outside who can get open, catch the ball, and go and make a play. It feels like Nebraska's needed Dylan to be a playmaker too much in these first couple of seasons because they didn't have enough playmakers around him. Now, Isaiah Hunter was a fantastic playmaker this year. Luke Lindenmeyer was a playmaker this year. Ja'Cory Barney at times, tough season. Emmett Johnson, obvious playmaker. If Nebraska was to lose Dylan and he decided it's best for my future to part ways and work in an offense that makes sense for my skill set, I wouldn't hate the idea for him. I also wouldn't hate the idea for Nebraska. I mentioned Sam Levitt's name because Sam is much more of a playmaker. He uses his legs. He can extend plays. And if you have a quarterback like that, when you're deficient in other ways, that could be the difference in the offense struggling and being successful. Why do people get so happy and horny on TJ Lateef? Because they felt like he could be more of a playmaker and less of a distributor. That's my opinion on the Dylan situation. I'm only telling you that because when people lose their minds on Twitter, if people have to lose their minds on Twitter because Dylan was to hit the portal, God forbid, that's going to be my instant reaction. Just so you guys are aware why I'm not going to lose my mind if Nebraska was to lose Dylan. It's going to be okay. They're going to find a guy who's fit for the offense, and I'm just not sure this quarterback was if he was to leave. Right now, he's the QB1. Let's rock. I'm ready for Dylan in year 3. Cannot wait. It's going to be fantastic. He's going to help lead the recruiting charge. The energy's good when he's in the building. Hopefully, the dynamics across the rest of the team, his relationships with all the other players are solid, and we're good to go. Heaven forbid something changes. That's my outlook. Let's see. G Squared says, so pumped about the new hire, Geep. This tells me that DR is gone most likely. I will be in Vegas on the 31st. Hope to see you there, GBR. Hope to see you there too. I really am. I don't know that I believe that this is an indication that Dylan's going to be gone. Right now, I'm 50-50 split on it. I think if you're them thinking logically, his dad and him, you're like, man, we need to get improved line play. This is a step towards that, right? We all feel like this is a step towards it. Why would they not feel the exact same way? John says, if I were a player, I would have to ask myself, do I want Rule to be my head coach, or is there another head coach who is better out there? Here's the problem with that. There are tons of head coaches that are better than Matt Rule out there. I could name a list right now. Lane Kiffin, right now. Kirby Smart, right now. Lincoln Riley, Dan Lanning, Mike Elko. Just the list goes on. There are tons who are better than Matt Rule right now. How many players do you think those coaches can coach? There is a limited supply of spots. So if you're a player, you got to go where you can actually get on the field, right? Sure, Matt Rule might not be their desired choice, but somebody's got to play for Nebraska. That's a desired spot to be in if you're trying to go to the NFL. You are going to be a starter on a Big Ten team with some of the best facilities in America, some of the highest pay in America. Matt Rule's good enough. I wouldn't worry about that, man. Adam says Lindenmeyer was awful. What? Lindenmeyer was awful? What game were you watching? Lindenmeyer was a solid tight end at Nebraska this year. Honorable mention, all Big Ten. And, I bet you, I don't know this to be true, I bet you he had a lot of offers to leave Nebraska. There were a lot of schools who would have called him, and a lot of guys at Nebraska are getting calls. Promise you that. So appreciate what you got. You know what I'm saying? Ja'Cory Barney, I bet you people are saying he's awful. Well, what happens if he leaves in the portal? I bet you a lot of money that dude's getting phone calls right now to leave. We can utilize you better. We'll get you more built. We'll build you into the NFL receiver you're meant to be. And Ja'Cory Barney might leave. I don't know. I'm not hinting at anything. But the point is, Nebraska's got studs on their roster. Just because the team didn't pan out this year and look as good as they did, there are some really good athletes. Let's see. Bama getting curb stomped. Yeah, I turned it off when it was 21-0 to start working on this. Pace says we didn't get our DC Vince. That wasn't Nebraska's DC. If that was Nebraska's DC, guess what? He would have been Nebraska's DC. And I don't say that as like a manifestation spiritual kind of vibe. I say that as if Nebraska wanted him, do you know where he would be? He'd be in Lincoln, Nebraska as I'm speaking. That shows you they did not want him. That shows you that Matt Rule didn't bend the knee. It was Matt Rule's terms or go to fucking Syracuse. He didn't want to be on Matt Rule's terms. I don't know what the reason was. Did he want to bring his position coaches over and Matt Rule said, I'm not really feeling that. I already got my own position coaches. Did he want to run a certain scheme and Matt Rule said, feel comfortable with the scheme I want to run. We're going to lock in this way. I don't know. But head to head, Syracuse, hypothetically, Syracuse offers $1 million. Nebraska offers $1 million. The terms are exactly the same. Do you think that Nebraska will lose a DC to Syracuse? What? No disrespect to you. It's just some of the comments I see on Twitter, either people just have no logic, no common sense, or they just choose to be ignorant. I'm going to say they choose to be ignorant. I give people the benefit of the doubt. People are smarter than they act. I feel like I live amongst a bunch of retarded people, but it's not that. It's a bunch of people who choose to be ignorant. They just ignore facts. They look at things like clickbaity headlines like, Nebraska lost their defensive coordinator to Syracuse. Oh my God, Matt Rule's terrible. What's wrong with you, homie? Think about it for a second. There's more to the freaking story. Again, Pace, this isn't towards you. Your comment ignited some emotions in me from earlier that I was looking at on Twitter. I just see the dumb shit and I'm like, why am I on social media? I got to get off. I don't want to mix with these people. Like, I have to wash my hands after I get on social media. Disgust. Anyway. No one important says we can't possibly forget how ass the special teams was before Mike Eckler. The fact that Matt Rule went out and made such a splash hire with Mike Eckler should make you optimistic and hopeful that he's going to choose the right position coaches, the right coordinators to get this thing turned around. He was successful in one of them. Thank God. Desperation call. Desperate times. I swear to God, if Mike Eckler would not have been at Nebraska this year, what, 5 wins? I don't even want to think about it. Mike Eckler was the difference between a 6-win season and a 7-win season, possibly a 5-win and a 7-win season. On God, I swear to God. Mike Eckler is credited for 1, if not 2 wins this year. Am I wrong in saying that? Tiger Shark says, I like Connor's slang, like a true LA rolling 60s grip on hood. I don't talk crazy, brother. I talk normal, my slang. Do I talk with slang? G squared, Connor, thoughts on getting Sam Levitt from the portal, assuming Dylan's gone, especially with Geep as the O-line coach. An experienced dual threat playmaker like Levitt could elevate our offense. Okay, so I don't even want to entertain this idea and make you guys think I think this is a possibility or that Dylan's leaving. This is all so, out there in predictions, right? Like, this is an extreme prediction that Nebraska would, number 1, lose Dylan. Then number 2, they would go for a Sam Levitt. Number 3, that Sam Levitt would even be interested, although he was interested when he did leave Michigan State, and he likely would have ended up at Nebraska hadn't they gotten Dylan Raiola. Maybe not, because what was that guy's name who came from Ohio State and ended up at Syracuse throwing for like 4,000 yards? Kyle McCord. It doesn't matter. Nebraska flirted with the idea originally. They have the existing relationship. Heaven forbid Dylan leaves. They go out and get a different quarterback. I'm sure they would target Sam Levitt. I'm certain they would target Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt. He has had previous success in the Big Ten, obvious success in the Big 12, getting his team to the playoff. So, yeah, would I enjoy Sam Levitt at Nebraska? Yeah, brother. I think that's a good one. I think. Darren says, Connor, do you think we should target Tom Izzo as our defensive coordinator? Why would Tom Izzo be a football coach? We're talking about the same Tom Izzo, right? Like, there's not a Tom Izzo defensive coordinator in college football, right? We're just saying shit to say shit. No, I don't think they should target a basketball coach. Deadly Cactus, thank you for becoming a part of the Corn Craze Army. I appreciate you. Nathan says, who is the front runner for D coordinator? Well, if you look at the people who are upset and emotional on Twitter right now, they would say it's Phil Snow. I don't know who it is, though, like who the actual front runner is. I don't even know who they're going to interview. As you saw today, we didn't know who the offensive... Okay, how about this? Matt Rule hires an offensive line coach, or gets him primed and ready to be hired before we even know he's going to fire his current offensive line coach. Okay? I don't know how he pulled it off, but he did. The moment they fired their offensive line coach today, there was a report out that Nebraska already had their guy. And then like 15 minutes later, the report came out that it was done. Nebraska got their guy. Okay. He could have already talked to 2, 3 other DCs, and we don't even know about it because the only flight that was tracked was from Toledo to Lincoln. And so all we saw was, oh, they're going after the Toledo DC. Who knows who the top guy is or who it's going to be? One second. I'm on stream right now. I'm going to call you back. Way too early to know. Jim, thank you for the 555. As of this moment, 7 USC players declared for the portal. 3 of them had Nebraska in their final 3 last year. Yeah, USC lost a lot of younger guys. Not sure if they didn't feel like their outlook was positive, but I do think Nebraska's going to target a couple of those younger ones. Here's the thing. How many young guys will Nebraska go after in the portal versus how many guys who can make an immediate impact? The problem with the guys who transfer from USC is they haven't played yet. So if you got guys who haven't played yet, odds are Nebraska's not going to be as interested. They have young talent. How much young talent will Nebraska lose? That's yet to be seen. If they do start to lose a lot of guys, you have to replace the young ones. So if they got to replace the young ones, we could see them pick up 2, 3, 4 of the USC guys if they could, right? But I think right now the priority for Rule, unless he's going to lose some, which they're going to lose somebody, is to go out and get guys who are a little bit more proven, guys who've gotten playing time, guys who are built to play in the Big Ten right away and not worry about the long-term development. Like I said, this is a win or get the hell out situation for Matt Rule, and he knows it. The pressure is on. Nebraska fans are fed up. Now, a little bit unjustly in some ways because Nebraska fans have been dealing with like rebuilds for 15 years. So they're not giving Matt Rule an appropriate amount of time in his head. But we're like, yo, it's year 4. He feels it. He knows it's year 4 and he's got to get it going. You watch all these other teams and it's like, how are they so successful so fast? They're getting guys who are ready to play the day, not guys who didn't pan out at USC, end up in the portal and they're like, bring me back. I didn't pick Nebraska the first time, but give me a second. Go to Toledo. John says it's pathetic that the best part of our team is the special teams. That's a fact. Brian says Levitt will want $4 million plus. That might be true, but here's the thing. How many schools are going to pay him $4 million plus? How many schools already have QBs locked in? If Dylan enters the portal, that's another big time school who's going to pay quote unquote $4 million to him, right? Nebraska's already paying him $3+ million. So I don't know. What's Dylan getting? 3.5, an extra $500,000. Nebraska wants to win. That's what it takes to win. Okay, my point is, I don't know what the market's going to be. I don't know what quarterback options are going to be on the table for Nebraska in their budget, right? Or quarterbacks who would want to come play there based on the team that they have around them. Way too early. So we'll see. There are going to be tons of options, right? Brendan Sorsby's going to the portal, I think. He got offered, $4 million. Some schools going to get suckered into paying him crazy, it sounds like. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Let's see. Jake says, will Braden be fired before the bowl game? Probably not, but you never know. Like, does the new DC come in and say we need to make a change at some position groups, but not, at safety? I don't know. I don't know what the terms are that Matt Rule's outlined. Like, what was the reason that the DC from Toledo didn't want to come to Nebraska? There was a reason. It wasn't just like, head to head, Syracuse is the better job. I'm going to Syracuse. All things being equal, I'm picking Syracuse. Are you kidding me? It's like you got offered a job at Mastro's and you got offered a job at McDonald's and you chose McDonald's. What are we talking about? Even if it's just to be a dishwasher at either place, actually, McDonald's doesn't have dishes, but even if it's just to be a janitor at either place, clean the bathrooms, you're picking McDonald's? What are we talking about? Anyway, I'm sorry. I get on these tangents. I get so emotional because I read Twitter. That's what fucks me up. I get on social media and the stupidity just blows my mind so deep and so crazy. I come on here and I lose my shit. And it's not fair to you guys. It's not fair. I'm not ranting or yelling at you. I'm ranting and yelling with you. Thank you for being here. Finishing up with that comment. I don't know what the situation is with the position coaches on the defense. I have no idea. At this moment, it feels like Matt Rule wants to keep his position coaches, but TBD based on what DC comes in. That's my take. I don't think he's getting fired, quote unquote. I don't think Matt Rule is going to be the one to do that. I think if there were going to be coaches who were not retained, it would be on the new DC and he'd make the choices once he came in. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with the new DC. Or maybe it's Jon Snow. Wait, Phil Snow. Sorry, not John. Maybe it's Phil Snow. And John Butler got let go just to let Phil Snow have full control. TBD. David says, Scott Frost recruited great players that did not develop while they were here. Great example of that would be Wan'Dale Robinson. 100%. Unfortunate for Scott Frost. He had some good recruiting moments, but couldn't get it all together. Connor, have you seen how many offensive linemen are on GT's roster? I wonder if any of those linemen followed Geep to Nebraska. You know, it's tough. Georgia Tech's a really good football team right now. How many of those guys are going to return next year in theory? So if you go to Georgia Tech's depth chart. Okay. Georgia Tech. They're only losing 2 of their offensive linemen, it looks like, unless one of these juniors goes to the NFL. But I don't know how good these guys are behind them. This Peyton Joseph guy, he's a rotational second or third tackle. He entered the portal already. Does Nebraska want a guy like that who's a developmental piece? Maybe this guy recruited him and he says, I see a lot for him, so he's coming to Nebraska with me. Who knows? Yeah, they could potentially go. I mean, there's options, right? You've got 1, 2, 3. I'm sure there's a 4th here who are all major contributors, starters. They could get one, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the reason. I don't think it's the reason that Matt Rule hired him. I think they're going to go and get whatever or whoever is the best available at the time once the portal opens up. That's my guess. Jeff says, so with the new O-line, what percentage of Dylan's mistakes do you think will disappear now that he hopefully won't have to scramble just to get the pass off? I don't know, because I don't know how much of it was the offensive line. I don't know how much is Dylan. I don't know how much of it's the play calling. There were so many variables, so many factors that really led me to be confused about what the Dylan issues were. I just got to wait and see. I don't know how much it'll change. I'm optimistic that the offensive line is going to be much better against the run or in the run because this was a fantastic run team at Georgia Tech the past few years. And I would hope that they're going to give up less sacks, but who knows? Is Dylan the culprit? Dylan could end up just, taking as many sacks as he did because he holds the ball too long. TBD. Let's see. Trey says, my problem with Braden is that he's an NFL coach. I don't like NFL coaches in college, especially don't like them at Nebraska. I don't know too much about that, Trey. I couldn't tell you what the vibe is. Matt Patricia's an NFL coach who came to Ohio State this year, and they are the number 1 defense in the country by far. They're freaking legit, and it's all because of him. It feels like it's all because of him. They have great athletes, but that's a really good DC who came from the NFL. Let me see where we're at. Thomas says, do you think Nebraska, can Indiana beat Ohio State? Of course they can. It's a 4-point spread. I'm taking Ohio State, but who knows? PlayStation, thank you for the $2 super chat. Thoughts on Geep Wade as the replacement? I'll do it again since I did it earlier before everyone was in here. Nebraska gave up 9 sacks in one game this year. Georgia Tech gave up 9 sacks all season. Georgia Tech's offense was ranked in the top 15 nationally. I think they were ranked 12th nationally. Let me double check my work. Total offense, Georgia Tech was 12th nationally. Rushing offense, Georgia Tech was 19th nationally, only 3 spots behind Michigan and Notre Dame. In terms of sacks allowed, they were 5th in the nation. Georgia Tech had an offensive line the past 2 years that was spectacular. This coach has sent multiple guys to the NFL. He was at App State. I think he was at Eastern Michigan before. He has a long history of being successful with offensive linemen. Not only was this a home run hire, the timing was fantastic. There was no opportunity for you to panic. Donovan Raiola out. Next guy in. Any questions? Go check Google. What did he say? What Kurt Signe say? Google me. Google him. Matt Rule executed this perfectly. I'm so happy with the hire. I've only learned of it in the last hour and a half, but I'm already stoked. I'm optimistic, and I'm sure it will aid in helping them recruit the transfer portal. If you're a transfer portal offensive lineman, there is no more, well, this offensive line coach has had this going on, and it was kind of, in the past he was at Notre Dame, and this is proven success, proven results, come in, get developed, get the fuck onto the NFL. Does it get better? People will say Garrison from Ole Miss, but honestly, this is a legit hire for Matt Rule. Shout out Matt Rule. He got this one right. Jake says, I bet if we upset Utah, Nebraska fans will storm the field. No, you don't storm the field at bowl games. That's what students do. Students don't travel to bowl games like that. You don't storm the field for bowl wins, period. And you don't storm the field if you're Nebraska. Storming the field is so just amateur. Throw up in my mouth. Evan, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you for being a member. He says 2025 MVPs for offense, defense, and special teams. For me, it's Emmett, obviously. Deshaun Singleton on defense, Kenneth Williams on special teams. Your thoughts? You know, I would say Emmett, obviously. It's hard. Like, Emmett's the clear, but Isaiah Hunter was really good at times too. He's one of the best players. He's not the MVP, but he was a really good player. Special teams is obviously Kenneth Williams. He's out of nowhere. On defense, I don't know who I'd go with. Sierra Wright was pretty locked down for most of this season. Sierra Wright was a really good DB, and he didn't get as much recognition because they just didn't throw to him as much, but he had a lot of pass breakups. He didn't give up a lot. Sierra Wright was one of my favorite players coming into the year and might be my favorite ending it. So I like Sierra Wright. Jackal says Sorsby would be awesome to have if we lose Dylan. Could you imagine? That would be freaking bizarre. Sorsby started his career at Indiana, I believe. Obviously was the quarterback at Cincinnati, but was pretty dominant in the run game. Digger says Rule is the problem. Poor manager. Let's go get another Sims. How many coordinators do you go through before you realize that it's a Rule? He's the problem. Okay. Rule has done so much good that it offsets the bad. It's impossible to be perfect. All you can do is get better. I'd like to see your history, Digger, of your life and what you've done. Just give me the breakdown, your resume, and show me where you've been perfect all along the way. What I've learned in hanging out with people who have a lot of success, businesses, money, lifestyle, they've made a lot of mistakes and fucked up a lot of the things in the route to getting there, or en route to getting there. I myself have. So Matt Rule fucking up back in 2023, but correcting it by going and getting a 5-star QB who every single school in the country wants on their roster, feels like he righted the wrong. Matt Rule fucking up with his initial special teams hire, but going and getting Mike Eckler, who's now proven to be one of the best special teams coordinators in the entire country, if he had not already proved it already, feels like he fixed the issue. Will there be more that Matt Rule has to fix? Absolutely. Does his past mean that he can't change and get better? Absolutely not. Again, Digger, show me your resume. Do you live in a glass house? I want to see. I want to see what you've done before you start calling out Matt Rule. There are tons of coaches who have issues earlier on in their career. They correct their wrongs and they improve down the line. Matt Rule might be that coach. We didn't get a ready-made product. We didn't get Nick Saban. We didn't get Lane Kiffin. We didn't get a guy who was already a playoff caliber coach. We got a guy who had some success, but not a guy who had done it repeatedly, not a guy who won a national championship. They rocked with somebody who they felt like they could build with. Nebraska hasn't been perfect. Matt Rule hasn't been perfect either. But they're both trying to right their wrongs and do what they can to build the program up. That's my take, Digger. The idea that Rule is the problem and it's a poor manager and everything, I get it. But we've seen consistent growth, and that's all you can ask for. When we stop seeing growth, I'm on the boat with you. Bo Pelini, we stopped seeing growth. What'd we do? Flushed, gone, into the abyss. You move on. Matt Rule has a little bit of time left. The thread that was burning since 2023, it might only have a little bit left, right? But give him that little bit. I'm going to. Jackal says, I totally agree about Dylan being a bad fit. Rule clearly prefers mobile QBs. And I'm not even sure if it's a rule. College football prefers mobile QBs. Ty Simpson is mobile. Gunnar Stockton is mobile. Dante Moore is mobile. Austin Simons and Trinidad Chambliss are mobile. Who else? I mean, any big time quarterback. Marcel Reed is mobile. Arch Manning is mobile. The quarterback at Oklahoma, John Mateer, is mobile. Bryce Underwood is mobile. Julian, they're all mobile. The pocket passer, that whole thing is dying a little bit. Pat Mahomes is mobile. The best quarterbacks can do it all. We just have freaks of nature running around this planet playing quarterback. It's wild. Hopefully, Dylan can be a little bit more mobile. David says, Connor's 100% right about Dylan. That's why he could lose every single college game of his career and still be among the top 3 quarterbacks taken in the draft the year in which he declares. Exactly. His freaking arm talent, his top end potential is what people are banking on. Mark, I have a feeling we get DC Simmons from SMU, but I hope we get Jim Knowles or Brent Pry. Jim Knowles home run. If Nebraska got Jim Knowles, first off, I'd be shocked, but absolutely outstanding hire if they could get him. Oklahoma State, Ohio State, Penn State would be great. Brent Pry, Virginia Tech, great. Be happy with that. Former head coach, experienced, got his head coaching job because of his success as a defensive coordinator. Fantastic. DC at SMU, a little bit more underwhelming. SMU, they're good, but they're not great. He's been successful. Cool. Bring him in. At this point, go and get somebody who can develop or come up with a really good game plan, can develop his players, and can bring the right energy. We've seen what energy can do to a unit. Special teams got Eckler energy, and that changed their entire unit. It changed the face of the special teams. So get a guy who comes in hot and excited, pumped up. Trey, why would Jim Knowles not be a good fit at Nebraska? Genuinely curious what your thought is on that. Shasta, thank you for the $5 super chat. I've been asking if it's possible to tie beer sales to NIL for the O-line. Hashtag drinking for Lincoln. Drastic changes needed. O-line hasn't been the same since 03 GBR. Shasta, I talked to a friend. He's a big social media guy, big content creator, big Nebraska fan. And we were talking about how Nelk boys have Happy Dad. Logan Paul has Prime Energy. Nebraska has a brand and has a fan base that can sell a product. And for whatever reason, they have not opted to launch a product. Now, Nebraska has merch. Nebraska has stuff to sell. But why don't they have a product? Do you remember last year? I came on here and I advertised a beef jerky. I can't remember the name of it. It was from the Husk guys. Pipeline beef jerky. And they gave a portion of their sales to the NIL for the offensive linemen. And I don't remember what they told me my sales numbers were. I think I did like $1,000 in sales for them on one live stream, right? I came on here, I marketed it, people bought it. They obviously kept some of the profit. Then the NIL team sent the rest of the profit to the offensive linemen. Anyway, I say all of this to say, Nebraska has a huge brand. Why don't they have a product? And why doesn't that product put all of their profits into NIL? I don't know. Who's in charge? You look at Cranium, the energy drink. I've advertised that on this show a few times. I've drank it. You guys see it on Husker Online. They're a Nebraska-based brand. Imagine if Nebraska, and I'm not saying Nebraska go do an energy drink, but imagine if Nebraska had an energy drink and they went and sold it. Part of the reason people are supporting Cranium is because those guys are from Nebraska. People are loyal to them because they're from Nebraska and they want to support a local company. Imagine how many of us would support Nebraska if they launched, some peanut brand or almonds or something. I'm already buying almonds. Tell me that it goes to Nebraska NIL. I'm done at Costco buying almonds. I'm done. I only buy almonds from the University of Nebraska because I know that all the profits from those almonds are going into players' pockets, which means that's going to result in more wins, hopefully. That's what Nebraska needs to do. They need to launch a product. Someone call somebody who's in charge and tell them, launch a product, figure it out. There's the blueprints out there. Mr. Beast with his freaking chocolate. We know how it works. Go execute. There are millions of Nebraska fans who would support that cause. They already support. Figure it out. Take my money. Red says, I have a hard time seeing another school pay Dylan $3.5 million or more. I don't. Dylan is, if you look at Dylan and what his potential is, he is a great arm talent who needs more time. He is a great arm talent who needs top-end receivers. Nebraska hasn't been able to provide those two things. Nebraska has made him look like a shell of himself. At Nebraska, Dylan's a 6. He's got wrinkles. He's a little bit fat, just whatever. You put him at Alabama or Georgia, and he's a 10. He's hot. I don't know if you like blondes. He's blonde, long hair, flowing. Dylan Raiola in the right system is who we thought Dylan Raiola was going to be, who Dylan Raiola is meant to be, and who he probably will be once he leaves college either way. Nebraska, unfortunately, is holding him back to some degree. Someone will pay him a lot of freaking money to be their quarterback. If someone will pay Brennan Sorsby $4 million, if someone will pay Sam Levitt millions, they will pay Dylan freaking Raiola. I can promise you that. There are plenty of coaches watching Nebraska games saying, wow, Dylan is a serious disadvantage being the quarterback over there. Let me text him real quick and just see if we can get it popping. I promise you. Balls, thank you for being a member. He says, good afternoon, Connor. Were the rumors true that later this season, Rule went very hands-on with the offensive line, hence the quick improvement? Also, Syracuse hired Vince Carras at their DC. I don't know about the Rule offensive line situation. I have no idea. Syracuse hired him because he couldn't agree with terms at Nebraska, clearly. If Nebraska wanted him, they would have agreed to whatever he wanted and gotten him. But there was some misalignment, unfortunately, and that is what it is. I'm not worried about it. There will be plenty of other guys who Nebraska can target. Joshua says, if Dylan does leave, he has to go to an Adidas school for the money factor. Dylan's not worried about the money, brother. Dylan's worried about the NFL. Dylan does not care about Adidas. Dylan will do whatever he's got to do to be at the right fit if he was to leave Nebraska. So I don't think it'll be an Adidas school. I think it'll be whatever school he thinks is right. Husker D says, bro, we're not that further ahead than Syracuse, LOL. Nebraska played a top 40 strength of schedule this year. Syracuse played a bottom 30 strength of schedule this year. Nebraska won 7 games. Syracuse won 3. We're not that much further ahead than Syracuse. Syracuse record playing against Nebraska teams would have been, the teams they played, would have been something like 2-10. Nebraska's record playing against Syracuse teams would have been something like 10-2. They are that much further ahead than Syracuse. Okay, next. Trey says, I don't know why he's literally crashing out on everybody else. Who's crashing out? I'm not crashing out. I'm just living my life. Colby says, I think this might be the most fire I've seen Connor on stream. Really? Today? No, there have been streams in the past, like last season, I think, or maybe 2 years ago, after, it might have been the year that Dylan Raiola came in. And I think I did a 2-hour stream. I was lit. I don't know what had happened, the breaking news. There was tons of breaking news. It was like Dylan came, or they had lost Kyle McCord. Something happened. I was lit the entire time, just like, pow, 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 pow. I mean, I'm passionate right now. I'm always passionate, but right now I'm chilling. Ball says the stars could align equals Jim Leonard. I still don't think it's going to be Jim Leonard. I think Jim Leonard wants to be at in the NFL. PlayStation, thank you for the $2 super chat. Does Geep have any known ties to Rule? I don't believe so, but you never know. He didn't coach at a school that Matt Rule's been at. I didn't look at his entire history, but his recent history says no. I would guess Matt Rule identified him as one of the better offensive line coaches based on how Georgia Tech was able to run the football this year, based on the fact that they've been so great in preventing sacks the last 2 seasons, and the fact that they're a top 10 offensive line in the country, according to the Joe Moore Award. So I think Matt Rule just said, screw it. I'm not worried about existing relationships. I'm worried about winning and fixing our issues now. Let's get it popping. That's my guess, but I don't know. There could be more to the story that I have not looked at. No one important says Georgia just won 28-7. Fantastic. Awesome for Georgia. Had the money line. I personally would like to see Alabama fall out. I don't think they will, but if Alabama's out of the playoffs, I wouldn't hate it. They have 3 losses now. If you can't win on if you can't be competitive on conference championship weekend, i.e. Bama, 21-point loss, i.e. BYU, absolute bloodbath to Texas Tech. I just think that was your playoff opportunity and you didn't show enough. Give somebody else an opportunity now, give somebody else a chance. The only argument you can have with Alabama is Georgia's one of the best 3 teams in the country. That's the only other argument you can have. And they already beat Georgia on the road. It's tough, man. It's tough. William, thanks for being a member. He says, Penn State hires a guy who lost to this year's Colorado team. Well done, Penn State. I actually like Mike Campbell. For what he did at Iowa State, I don't know how many other coaches would have been able to do that. I think he's a little bit like a Matt Rule in that way, that he's built some smaller program. So hopefully it works out for him, but it is freaking crazy that they came down to the wire and were forced to go with a coach who they didn't want. That was their last choice, and they settled on him. Freaking rough. JR, thank you for being a member. He says, let's effing go, Connor. Rule riding the ship. He's not messing around, so pumped. Great day to be a Husker. Sun isn't setting on us. I never thought it was, bro. Always keep the faith. Matt Rule has shown us in the past that he's willing to do what it takes to get this shit fixed. Sometimes it just takes longer. In this case, it's taken 3 years. But hopefully he's getting it right this time, and we'll have to see. Jose says, Connor, what 5 traits do you think are important for the next DC to have? I like the Penn State DC. What are the cons to him? Does the next DC need to be a 5-year plus coach? Okay. When you say does he need to be a 5-year plus coach, are you talking about in terms of experience? So I'll tell you this, in terms of experience, I would hope the former DC comes from a power conference, ACC, Big 12, SEC, Big 10, and has crazy energy. I would hope that he comes in like a Mike Eckler to some degree, where he is fiery, he's passionate, he wants to see guys hit, he wants to see guys tackle in practice. They want to play a spring game, right? Injuries are a part of football, I know. But you want a guy who wants to play football. The best DCs act like defensive coordinators. They're a little bit freaking crazy. So hopefully Nebraska goes and gets a guy like that who's got the right energy to him, isn't like a calm, chill dude, is a little bit off his rocker. I'm telling you, the Mike Eckler effect at Nebraska this year left such an imprint on me that I want to go and see them get passionate coaches across the board. Get guys who are fired up. I think that makes a huge difference. John Jacobs says, isn't Rule just righting his own wrongs? Brother, he is. Yes, sir. Ruckus says, I'm not giving up on TJ. I'm not either, but I don't think TJ is the answer next year. Noah says, dude, when you rant, it makes me feel so much more sane because I'm not the only one. Brother, the thing about my channel, I feel the things that you feel. That's why so many people have gravitated towards it and why we've built this awesome community. And I've been able to be myself because I know that although sometimes I crash out, sometimes I get a little bit emotional, a little bit crazy, there are hundreds of people right now watching, or 439 specifically, watching, and they feel the exact same way I do. So I feel like I'm with my homies, just like venting, because if you were in person with me, we'd be all, saying the same shit. I'm not sitting here being crazy. We all feel the exact same thing. David says it's all right. Connor, it's okay to vent your frustrations in a healthy way. I think this is doing it in a healthy way. This is a good outlet. I'm not throwing shit at the wall. I'm not breaking anything, just yelling at the camera. Sean, thank you for being a member. Sean, he took me to the ASU Arizona game last week. Took me on the field. Oh my God. I was on the field at the ASU Arizona game in the end zone, looking at the Arizona State student section. It was a freaking experience. Sean, thank you for taking me. It was awesome. Here's a little video just so you guys can see like where we were. Literally on the field, looking at the student section. Look at that. Wait. Yeah, just fire. I don't have the audio on, but you guys get the point. It was an experience. The people you meet through a YouTube channel, I'll tell you. Anyway, Sean says, do you think Bama's out of the college football playoff with a 28-7 loss to Georgia? If BYU is out with their loss, I feel like so does Bama with both games resulting in about the same score. So the difference between Bama and BYU is there's a significant schedule advantage in Bama's favor. Bama beat multiple top 15 or top 20 teams this season. They already beat Georgia on the road. BYU has not played nearly as tough a schedule. BYU lost to a team twice, so they don't have that redeeming factor, whereas Bama went out and beat Georgia in their own stadium. BYU has no business being in the playoff, firstly. Secondly, I personally would like Bama out. However, Bama has earned it. They played in the SEC against some of the best teams in the country. They beat some of the best teams in the country already. And yes, they have 3 losses, so I hate the idea of them getting in. But who deserves it more than they do? Notre Dame? No. Miami? No. It's hard. It's tough. I don't think they get left out. Right now, I'm going to say Bama's in no matter what. The 21-point loss is going to be tough for them. Maybe it drops them down to like a 12 seed. No, 11 seed. But they're in. I'm almost certain. Rydog says, Connor, what do you think about him basically being forced to being hired? Eckler, Rule didn't want him initially. He wasn't forced. He hired Eckler because he wanted him. I don't know about that, but I do know that he wanted Eckler. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hired him. There was no force. Sonny, he says, Connor, you turning over a new leaf and wanting to be positive is one thing. Expecting Rule to make a correct decision is another. None of his original hires worked. None of the replacements have. What are we talking about? It's TBD on some of the replacements. It's way too early. It's been one season. Dana Holgerson was better than the last guy he had. Dakel Shorts was better than the last guy he had. Mike Eckler was better than the last guy he had. There are still position coaches that we're questioning. Addison Williams better than the last he had. The point is this. There are still questions. Maybe Addison Williams the same as the last he had. But the point. Matt Rule is doing his best to improve. And he's trying to find guys who fit his culture, who fit his system. It's not going to be perfect. And you won't ever know until guys come in. It's like, I don't know how you read it perfectly. And you're like, oh, this guy's the perfect fit. And I'm going to hire him. And it's just all going to work out. Sunshine and rainbows. You have to take a shot. There's always risk in it. Can you be a little bit more successful than you are a failure? Like, can you go 60 or 70%? I don't know. We're going to hope. But I am expecting Rule to make better decisions. Not the correct one. Better. This is an imperfect process. There is no right or wrong answer in coaching hirings. And no, fuck that. There is never a right or wrong answer. There are coaches who you say are slam dunks who end up being pieces of shit. Happens all the time. This is imperfect. You just roll with it, hope for the best. That's how I feel about this situation. Sam, thank you for the $5 super chat. Do you think we have a better chance beating Utah with both Donovan and John Butler replaced? No, I don't think that changes anything, to be honest with you. Like, I think they're just getting ahead of the inevitable, which is figuring out what their roster is going to look like after they replace guys and figuring out what coaches they can fill those spots with after they replace those guys. I don't think that's going to change anything for the bowl game. Nothing immediate. Bonds, thank you for the $5 super chat. Why are we blaming Rule? He's improved our record every single season. Improvement that we hadn't seen since the last head coach who shall not be named. Yeah, that's the bottom line. He has improved. It hasn't been the improvement that we want. They want more. They want to see bigger jumps. I get it. Rule is not perfect. There are deficiencies. And yes, if he does not continue to improve, he will be a hot seat coach. But so far, so decent. It's been okay. Tiger Shark says Rule is 2-10 in November. Huge problem. Hence why they fired the defensive coordinator. Hence why they fired their offensive line coach. And they're trying to make significant changes. They have to improve. And we all know that. Let's see. Bonds again. Thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, I would rather have an up-and-coming G5 DC than a failed big school DC. I'd rather have a successful big school DC than an up-and-coming G5 DC. Like a good DC. Not like a guy who was successful in the past. I'd prefer like, this might be unrealistic, but like a Justin Wilcox, who's already been at Wisconsin, and he was at Cal as a head coach. Things didn't work out at Cal as the head coach, but we know he's got a good defense. We know he's built for the Big Ten since he's done it before. A Mark Stoops, same kind of situation. I mean, you don't know who it's going to be, but I would prefer to get a guy like that over an unproven G5 guy, G4. But who knows? I mean, there was a reason that the situation with the Toledo defensive coordinator didn't work. I don't know what the reason is right now, but there was a reason it didn't work. I promise you. Jake, thank you for being a member. He says, the sky isn't falling. There is hope. Go Big Red. Thank you for the positive comment in here. I like keeping people sane. Tater, thank you for being a member for 20 months. I appreciate you. Just reading chat, guys. Like seeing what you guys have to say. A lot of conversation in here. I don't know what's about me and what's about other people. I'm just trying to read. Punter, thank you for the $5 super chat. What's up, Connor? Good vibes, everyone. I'm vibing on Toledo's DC. I don't know why, but it seems like a good move. Oh, man. Are we aware, Punter, that Toledo's DC is at Syracuse? That Toledo's DC will not be Nebraska's DC? He is hired at Syracuse, unfortunately. So, yes, probably would have been a good move. Hopefully would have worked out for Nebraska if they were to take that route, but they are not taking that route. Nebraska is not getting the Toledo DC, and they're picking somebody else. But it is what it is, Punter. Hopefully they find somebody else who's good. We're optimistic. Everybody in the chat's excited. Anyway, okay, guys, I've been live for a while. And I've got to go pack because, like I said, I'm going to the Lot Impact Trophy Awards. You know, Adam Carricker told me that he's a voter on the Lot Impact Trophy Awards. Or the Lot Impact Trophy. I say awards. What am I talking about? The Lot Impact Trophy. So that was interesting. Fun fact. But yeah, I'll be in Newport tomorrow and Monday. Come home late Monday night. And from there, we'll see if there's any more news about Nebraska and their coaching situation. Maybe some transfer portal things happening. I don't know. I'll be back next week with a live stream, I'm sure. So until next time, thank you everybody for being here, for supporting my channel all season long, for hanging out with me. I have a great time with you. As you know, this is like the most fun part of my day. It's a Saturday afternoon. We got right now we got almost 400, but we've had up to 500 in this stream. Anyway. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.